He didn't notice it at first. Borrowing had become so normal in his life that it felt invisible, like breathing. Borrowing money from friends, borrowing time from tomorrow, borrowing peace from his own future. Every month followed the same pattern. Salary came in, bills went out, excuses filled the gap, and somehow, before the month even ended, the money was gone. He worked hard, long hours, no weekends, yet every night when he laid down to sleep, his chest felt heavy. Not because of laziness, but because of pressure, the pressure of owing. He owed the shopkeeper near his house. He owed a colleague who once helped him quietly. He owed credit card companies that smiled in advertisements but shouted in emails. Worst of all, he owed himself a life he wasn't living. Every time his phone rang, his heart skipped. What if it's another reminder? Every time someone talked about money, he stayed silent. He told himself stories to survive. I'll earn more next year. Once I get a raise, everything will be fine. Everyone lives like this. But deep down, he knew the truth. He wasn't poor because he earned less. He was poor because he borrowed without control. One evening, something small happened. He stood in front of a tea stall, reaching into his pocket. He was short, again, so he called a friend. "Just a small amount," he said casually. "I'll return it in a few days." The friend paused. Not long, just long enough, and then said, "Okay." That pause hit harder than any rejection, because in that silence he heard something loud, disappointment, not spoken, but felt. On his way home, he didn't turn on music, didn't scroll his phone, didn't distract himself. For the first time in years, he listened to his thoughts, and a question appeared, quiet but powerful. How long will I live like this? That night, he opened a notebook. Not a fancy planner, just an old notebook lying unused. On the first page, he wrote one sentence: "I will stop borrowing." No big goals, no motivational quotes, just one promise. He didn't know how yet, but he knew this: borrowing was stealing from his future. The next morning, reality hit. Bills didn't disappear. Debts didn't magically clear. Life didn't suddenly become easy, but something had changed: his behavior. For the first time, he tracked his spending, every coin, every unnecessary expense. Tea outside? Cut. Impulse shopping? Gone. Showing off? Finished. People noticed. "You've changed," someone said. "You don't enjoy life anymore?" He smiled but didn't explain, because discipline looks boring before it looks powerful. Weeks passed. It wasn't easy. Some days he failed. Some days he felt tempted. Some days he felt embarrassed saying no. But every time he resisted borrowing, something grew inside him: confidence. He learned to wait. He learned to plan. He learned to live within limits. And slowly, very slowly, the pressure started reducing. One evening, he did something unexpected. He returned money to the friend he owed before being asked. The friend looked surprised. "You didn't have to rush," he said. But inside, the man felt rich. Not because he had money, but because he had control. Months turned into a year. He still wasn't wealthy, still wasn't driving luxury cars, still wasn't showing off on social media. But something was different. He slept peacefully. No fear of calls, no shame in conversations, no lies to protect an image. He started saving, even if it was small. He started learning, books, videos, podcasts. He started thinking long term. Borrowing once gave him comfort, but discipline gave him freedom. One day he looked back at the man who borrowed without thinking, at the man who avoided numbers, at the man who lived paycheck to paycheck, and he realized something powerful. The day he stopped borrowing was the day he started growing. Not financially first, but mentally. Money didn't change him. Decisions did. He didn't become rich overnight, but he became strong enough to build wealth slowly. And that strength, that was priceless.
Financial growth doesn't begin with earning more. It begins the moment you stop borrowing from your future.